having, and how do you intentionally create value as a family.
today bring up Lee Benson, and he's the author of the book you see right there. What's the title of that book?
Your Most Important Number.
Your Most Important Number, and there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom behind that specific title, which you guys will hear a little bit more in the fireside chat that we have with Lee today. We are also streaming live, so if I address this camera, then I am not addressing you guys either. I'm just making sure that everyone is in alignment as well. Are we good to go there with everything, Lacey?
It's just a little blown out with the lighting, but I can sit down a little bit.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we know how to run this. But anyway, so we're here again, like I said, so this is our 15 city road tour, and we've got a big conference that we also produce. You guys can see right behind. I just want to make sure you understand why you're in the room, what we do, and who we are. So we're in essence a group. It's Acquisition IQ is a premier community for business owners, investors, entrepreneurs, seasoned entrepreneurs. We're not really attracting a lot of startups inside of our community, but yet we do want to help the startups, and we'll invest in the startups as well as a community. Secondly, why are we here? We've got deal flow, collaboration, and also education, which is something that I personally love, and I know that each and every one of you guys, in order to get to where you want to go, we've got to have education and collaboration. We wouldn't be here without our partners on this entire national tour, as well as the people that have helped us here in this room. Nomalis, that's our creative media team back in Salt Lake City, now CFO, Castle Solutions, and then we've got the Acquisition Conference again, and Life Cider, which is almost like an energy drink, but we've got a case in our car, and they just keep us jacked up. Anyway, lack of education is a problem during the transaction phase, and that's why we have a lot of businesses that aren't being sold and are not being acquired. I'm sure you guys right now, you seem to be a really educated crew, but also you're wanting to grow, and that's the culture that we've established, a growth mindset culture. And that's really what we believe. And for those that have their arms crossed, you'll be uncrossing them a little bit later, because we have a really good speaker coming up soon. Lack of access to resources and relationships within M&A. And just like what Rick, you and I were talking about, the access to off-market deals is extremely valuable. And that's where this peer-to-peer connection and the ability to just have somebody tell you, hey, did you hear about this? Did you hear about this? And one community can completely transform your life. And that's what I believe. That's what I've experienced. I mean, I met Lee actually at the Genius Network. So, we're now building that relationship. Again, where are we going? We've got the 15 city tour ahead of us. Our next stop is going to be Las Vegas. From Vegas, we'll go to Salt Lake, and then on and on and on and on. So Dallas, Austin, Houston, and I'll have a few ways that you guys could get involved, whether you can be a part of the network or also invite some other people that you know in some of those other cities. Then our goal is to have around 500 members by the end of 2025, to have a robust online community for people to, again, access those off-market deal flow, access to all the education, because this specific interview will also be uploaded both on the YouTube channel as well as internally to the online group. This is the tech stack you can see right there. It's a chat thread, and then also you can't really scroll through that, but that's really where we're at. But again, thank you so much for being here, guys, and we're excited to be able to get into this portion of our program tonight. I'm going to read off Lee Benson's intro. So Lee has over 25 years of experience as a CEO. He owned and led Able Aerospace, then sold it for 9 figures to Textron Aviation. Next, he founded Execute to Win, to help senior leadership teams experience similar results by working together at improving the organization's most important number. Today, his operating system is used by businesses all over the world. Lee lives in Arizona, where he leads ETW and invests in and advises many high-growth companies that use MIND methodology, which he'll explain a little bit later today. He enjoys playing guitar, reading, exercising, and spending times with people that matter the most. So thank you for spending your time today. Come on up to this stage here with us.
All right, that's a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to live up to it.
And I'll do my best.
Yeah, well, I'll do my best to be able to ask the right questions. And I believe that the crowd here is wanting to know, what is mind? Let's talk a little bit about mind and how that came about.
Yeah. So in my 63-year overnight success story, because that's how old I am today, I've started 8 companies from scratch, and as you go along, you figure out what works and what doesn't work. So I wanted a common way of creating value with all team members. So MIND, the acronym and the mind management systems, it's all about most important number in drivers. So at the top of the organization, what's one number that says above all others you're winning or losing the game and drives the majority of the right behaviors? When I sold 2 aerospace companies combined in one to Textron in 2016, our most important number was EBITDA, because that was the multiple we were going after. I don't know if I've told somebody this, but got a 21.6x multiple of EBITDA. Is that good? In aviation. So we repaired, overhauled, and manufactured aircraft parts. The strongest competitors at that time, when they sold, they were getting maybe 8x, usually around 6. And so intentionally creating value, and I think about it as holistic value: material, emotional energy, X factor for leaders, scarcest commodity on the planet in my view, and then spiritual value creation, which is all about connectedness and programs with team members. We had 15 years straight of 20% or better compounded annual growth on average. A really great, believable story to keep that going, and a strategic buyer. So all of that kind of came together. So this mind management system that was created, it was, how do we intentionally create value faster and create holistic value so it's just worth a lot more? And one of the things I'd say about it is I walked away from that deal 3 times. They ran at us, and an equally good, if not better, option was keeping the company. Because you even asked the question, or somebody did earlier, is that where you made your money? Is that one big? I could have retired long before I sold that company, long before I sold my first company. I'm into creating value, not how do I build this thing up and make a bunch of money and exit and then do the next thing like a lot of people talk about it. I want to create real, objectively net positive value in the world in everything I do. And one thing that's not in the bio that you read, I'm operating 2 companies as CEO, ETW, as well as a company called Dinner Table. Yeah.
Talk about incremental steps to become quote unquote successful and how you've been able to do that, because you, in my opinion, and also the times that we've spoke, you're very systematic in your approach with everything. So can you share with me a little bit about how you've been able to engineer that incremental step to be able to grow?
Yeah, and I don't think about incremental steps so much as I think about intentionally creating value. And there's something, the way I think about it, it's like this value creation cycle. Struggle to get a capability, and my definition of struggle is any effort to improve a life condition, develop a character trait, develop a capability. Struggle, get the capability, it builds internal fulfillment, self-esteem, all that kind of stuff. Don't stop there, use it to create value and keep taking steps. So when I think about the aerospace company, I took over a really small electroplating company in 1993, and we just did brush plating. I've got tons of pictures, and we'd get a part, put a little bit of nickel on it, or cadmium, or silver, lead, tin, whatever, and sell that. And so we did that, and then when I took over the company, bought it for its debt, and the story's actually in the book, went from 25 employees down to 3, and that company actually sold in 2002, I think, but took that one process and said, well, how could we leverage this? And I said, well, let's get into aerospace. If we repair an aircraft part, that's worth a lot of money. So the next step was, go get an FAA repair station. So went and figured that out. How hard could it be, right? Did it. Now, how can we apply our electroplating process to repair a component? Well, we didn't think at the time that we could approach a, Delta Airlines, American, or anybody. It wouldn't be meaningful enough, but we thought helicopter operators, if we save $1,000, that's a big deal for a small helicopter operator. Develop 7 repairs and hit the road. And that's great. Now let's buy a machine, a grinder, then let's buy this and buy that. And next thing you know, fast forward 23 years, 6, 7 companies later, and all the stuff that's going on, And we had over 300,000 square feet at the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, one location and in and around it, where you could give us a data plate with a serial number off of a helicopter and we could build the entire helicopter around it. So this, I never thought about like this step, this step, this step. I just thought about, we have this, what's something we could leverage, you know, with this to take the next step that made sense,
Yeah.
And so that's where it went.
Well, I think, you know, that's so wise advice, though, is just I know you're not looking at incremental, you're looking at the value creation, but with intentionality, and I think that's extremely important. As far as businesses that you have maybe consulted or people that have come to you, what are some of the problems that you've heard and seen, but also ways that you're able to solve those problems based on your systematic approach?
Yeah. Has anybody in the room been in a meeting where people were taking actions or talking about things that just didn't make sense in terms of what the company needed? Has that ever happened to anybody other than me? Bill, it's happened once? At least once. The reason it happens, in my opinion, there's 4 areas that our leaders don't understand fully. Business model strategy, the actual value of our stuff through the eyes of our customers, and culture. So business model, the simplest version of it, how do we price and why? Do you have a pricing policy? What are all the approaches to delivering our products and services and associated expenses? And what's the profit left over today? And then the really exciting part, potential for future profit, like we're doing this thing, right? The better they understand the business model, the better they're going to be able to make decisions that are in support of it. But ask most leaders, and I ask a lot of leaders at the top of organizations, what's your business model? They don't have great answers to it. And their leaders even worse answers. And then when it comes to strategy, the simplest way I can think about a strategy to me is nothing more than approaches to increasing the value of the business. That's it. It's nothing more than, and everybody can get their head around that, not some heady strategy exercise and go through it and don't want to look stupid in the room. You know, it's just approaches to increasing the value of the business. So what is that, and how do every leader and their teams fit into it, whether you have, you know, 2 leaders, 10 leaders, thousands of leaders, whatever. And then the value of your stuff, most companies like their stuff a lot more than their customers actually do. I mean, they're buying it, so they like it enough. But when we really know what they're thinking about it, then everybody can get in the game of continually improving, iterating and improving that experience for our customers. And then the last part, when it comes to culture, attitudes, behaviors, beliefs that cause the most value to be created. And I think our goal here is to connect culture to value creation, to actually creating value. So I call those 4 categories value creation nudging. So when things are happening that don't make sense, now I'm nudging to continually educate the leaders in all the meetings to where they get it. And then you know you're doing it right when, my gosh, they're nudging the next layer down and then the next layer from there. And so you think about my journey, you know, here's the company I'm working 80 plus hours a week, years on end. Starting out, I loved it, never felt like work, right? Fast forward, now we're a $100 million business. It's taking me less than 15 hours a week to run the business. Everybody's running it like they're the CEO of their own role inside the business because of this value creation nudging. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as culture, do you feel that it is either underrated or not rated as high as it should be within companies?
So culture is interesting, and you know, everybody talks about it. Every company has a culture. So think about this: every individual brings cultural energy with them, right? Their beliefs, limiting, otherwise like attitudes, all of that, behaviors, they bring it with them. And most companies don't do a very good job of driving an intentional culture. But if you back all the way up, I think it's, you know, what we agree to do and how things get done, this, you know, attitudes, behaviors, beliefs that cause the most value to be created. There's nothing more important than that, but very few actually do it right. So if you believe philosophically that everything a company does should be done to make it, at least with the intent, measurably better, culture should pass that test. And so what are you doing to design an intentional culture? And I always figure, gosh, if we're going to do that, we need to include all team members in the organization at the time that we're intentionally designing it. And there should be a purpose for any one of the cultural elements. I call them alignment tools: mission, vision, behaviors, quality, policy, leadership traits, whatever you have, whatever's right for the business. what's the, like if we have it, can you articulate how it's actually going to make the company measurably better? Can you? And most don't go through that. You know, the companies will have a culture committee that gets together and they come up with 4 words that sound amazing, and now you have wallpaper throughout the company, and did it really do anything? And so what I like a mission to say, hey, this is why customers do business with us. It's what we do every day to win. If we don't do it, our jobs are in jeopardy. I like a set of behaviors that create the conditions where at any point in time, 50% or more of our team members are performing, leading, and behaving as good or better than the top 10% at our strongest, most admired competitors. Like, those things are pretty meaty, right? Mm-hmm. Right? So if we can distill that out with the input of everybody, so it's not, Nathan gave it to the team and you will like it. We developed it, you get a lot more ownership in it. So I think culture is the most important thing, and I'm sure it's in the 90% plus range of companies that don't fully leverage it the way they could.
Yeah, because I feel like many businesses, they're very growth focused. It's on to the next. It's almost, I mean, not every business, obviously, because in order to get to where you were, you have to have that discipline. So talk to us a little bit about, that discipline that you did have while you were growing your company, and some of the sacrifices that you had to make personally, but also professionally as well. So.
Yeah, big question. It's one giant journey. One of the things that I've learned through this whole thing, and it's an internal, sort of mantra for me, is struggle better. And the harder it is, I've gone through it so many times now, I just know it's going to be amazing. So it can be ridiculously hard, and I'll start to get a warm, fuzzy feeling inside that this is going to be so valuable when I come out the other side. Whereas,
that's good.
A lot of leaders that I meet with, they act like the world's ending, and they're just a puddle of victimhood sitting there on the ground. Like, what are you doing? If everything was perfect, why would we need a leader? It's our job to continually create more value and engage in the appropriate struggle to be able to do that, all the way along. So that's one of the biggest things that I've learned. And the more you go through that cycle, that value creation cycle with struggle in there, the better you get at it, and you feel better about it. We're taking it away from kids, and that's what I'm doing with Dinner Table, is putting the healthy struggle back into the journey so they can be amazing value-creating adults. And we're taking it away from employees. Like, they can do so much more than we say they can or can't do because of whatever the conditions are. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's probably a few people out there, and then also in this room, though, that are curious about, when do you want to sell your company? I'd be curious as to, I know that's a little bit different than what we've been on now, but I'd be curious as to what's the mindset there and how do you get there?
Well, I think when you want to sell a company, it's an individual journey for everybody. They get to decide, what they want to do. But I'm a big believer in making your company worth the most at every single point in time, because life conditions change. All kinds of things can happen. And you brought up discipline before. So as I was building the companies, I never took a dime of outside investment money. Debt financed everything. Starting out with Able Engineering, the first actual aerospace company in '95, we had a credit line of $75,000. It was maxed out. And fast forward to when I sold it, we had a credit facility of $36 million, using about half of it at any point in time. Borrowing at 4% and making north of 50% profit. It was a pretty good deal. But the discipline to keep, we would distribute 50% of the money every year. I controlled all the stock. Some of the employees had minority interest because they were thinking and acting like owners and getting those kind of results long enough. But if they left for any reason whatsoever, they'd have to sell the stock back. But every year, rather than waiting for the owner to decide, we're going to distribute this or that based on cash, nope, 50% goes out. It covers your taxes, a little bit extra. The rest stays in the company for growth. Never change that all the way through, and that discipline really helped. And there were 13 that had equity. The smallest one got a check for a little bit over $1 million. Largest check was just over $30 million. That wasn't bad for them. It was great.
Discipline pays off. Yeah.
Yeah, and no, there was no emotional anxiety around it. You know, what's going to happen? Everybody just, these are the rules of engagement. Everybody knew exactly what to expect, and if they wanted more and got frustrated, my conversation was always the same. You didn't create the value. How am I supposed to pay it to you if you didn't create the value? What a great culture too. I mean, it's like there's just solid, everybody going for it. And those that couldn't keep up in that culture, well, then we found a different place for them. And you talk about culture. Some of you have heard me say this before. When team members, they could be getting great, performance, great results, but terrible cultural fits. I wasn't joking when I told other team members, as soon as we identified, if you can get them a job at our strongest, most admired competitor, I will give you a bonus, because they can literally go suck the life force out of those folks instead of doing it with us. And if they get them a senior leadership position, we'll get them a parking space and maybe a company car.
Yeah. Value creation, we want to create a lot of value for you guys out here in the audience, and we didn't want to just go and banter back and forth. I'm sure we could go so deep into all of the things, right? Experiences of a CEO that has had a significant exit and then now currently is running multiple companies. But would you like to open up the floor for some Q&A?
I would love that. I'd love that, yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, raise your hand, yeah, and then speak up.
Cool. So you mentioned your business had a compelling story that helped people feel that energy and build on that culture and inspired them. What was that story?
I'm not sure the story you're referring to, but when I think about business and the approach, material value is how we sort of look at, hey, the company's growing, it's good for all stakeholders, more opportunities for employees, shareholder return, all of it. The emotional energy piece of it, net positive emotional energy, is the X factor for leaders, and I spent a lot of time on leadership development with my team. When I sold it, I had 64 leaders that the time I did spend, I mostly spent developing them. And then the connectedness piece, which I call spiritual value creation, lots of programs that connect employees. So why is this important? I've had a number of folks over the years say, we would never put in a 10,000 square foot gym, we would never have all these programs that you have. And even the company that bought us eventually got rid of the gym that I had. But why is this stuff important? It's all about productive engagement. So I don't know what you believe around what percentage productive engagement do we get on average from team members. It's pretty low. I want to say in the 20% range likely. I think I was getting more like 50%. Maybe, and way higher with some, maybe a little lower, but on average 50% or more than double what I consider the national average for productive engagement. So doing that, having that culture, having that environment, that's why it matters. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Second question, how do you define productive engagement?
Engagement with what you want them to be engaged with, which is creating the value that the role was designed to create. So what are the outcomes that you're held accountable to? They should be measurable, probably shouldn't be more than 2, 4 max. You're doing lots of other stuff, and are you on track, ahead, or behind? And we want you engaged with that. And if at the top it's EBITDA and we start here and we want to go here, all the other goals align to that. They're all subordinate to it, including everything, culture and leadership development, everything. Like, get all that stuff right, you get more productive engagement where people are hitting their goals a higher percentage of the time, and it's incredible, what can happen to the value of a business.
Did you guys capture that? On track? On track?
Well, yeah, I would just look at it and say when somebody comes on board and I say, let's take something really simple like a sales position. You're going to sell X. This year you're going to, let's just say $1 million. You're going to start at 0. It's going to be linear. It's just how it works here. Do you think you can do that? It's almost always, well, I've never seen it not. Yes, of course I can do that. And I've even heard many times, if I can't do that, something's wrong with me. Great. So here's what we're going to track you to. And if you fall below this line, let's say at any point in time it's on pace to be below $800,000, this won't work, and we'll have to make a change. Do you understand? Yes. That's the first conversation I'll have. So as soon as it drops below that bottom line, I bring them in, okay, thank you so much for trying, I appreciate it, but we need this because the company's dependent on this happening. It's a lifeblood of the organization. So it's it's a great upfront conversation. I think every team member should know what's expected and where they stand regarding performance 100% of the time, and we're tracking it. And then 9 times out of 10 or more, when you have to let them go, there's no surprises whatsoever. We already had this conversation. Yeah.
Can you just repeat the
Yes.
question?
All right. More questions. This is more of an interactive session right now.
I would love to be able to provide a 10,000 square foot gym for culture and to be able to create that. But for the businesses that are like maybe 10 employees to 50, maybe up to 100 that might not have the facility or the resources, where does the culture start with some of the smaller businesses, let's say 10 employees and, you know, growing from kind of the smaller end? Or where did you start
Yeah.
when you were at that point?
Yeah. So
The question is, where do you start as a small business for creating culture? There you go.
yeah, be intentional about connecting culture to value creation. And so I didn't start out with 3 employees or 10 or even 100 employees with a gym. But as we got bigger, we could afford a 10,000 square foot gym. But there's lots you can do in terms of team wellness programs. It could be, you know, jumping jacks in the parking lot before. What we're doing is we're strengthening community within the organization. And on the culture side, you're being really intentional around what do we all agree to do, how things get done. You're being intentional about developing your leaders and how they show up, leadership traits, positive energy in good times and especially bad times. Create an energizing environment from which all the team members create value. Like, these are perspectives a lot of leaders don't have. In my company, ETW, we recently launched a leadership value lab that goes through all this. Every leaders they can all be assessed going through it. You get all the content in there. There's a monthly interactive session walking them through all these things. So it can start with 2 employees, 5 employees. And what is the team when you're driving culture? And I heard a great definition recently that your team is everybody required to accomplish the value that you're trying to create it going through. So just be intentional about it. And you'll be way ahead of the game, whether it's 5 employees, 10 employees, 20, it really doesn't matter. And as you create more and more value, you'll come up with more creative ways to drive material, emotional, and connectedness / spiritual energy value in the organization. Yeah.
Right over there.
I really like what you were saying about the stock that you offered to some of your top performers. Did you have a specific formula for that? Was it kind of a case-by-case scenario of how you offered that, how they could earn that? What the
That's
intent
good.
was with it?
So the question is how within an organization do you structure employee stock ownership?
Yeah, for me, it's always been on a case-by-case basis, but I had some basic rules. I'm never going to go below in any of my companies controlling interest. And even though you could have controlling interest in voting shares and all that, but I would never go below 51% of it. And I never got close to that. So always had more. And if they how I structured it, if they left for any reason whatsoever and no reason at all, they'd have to sell that back to me at 3x internal equity, latest available financial statements. Super simple. Their spouses sign it. A couple of folks that I had to ask to leave because they weren't holding up their end of the bargain, paid them their 3x, and they got attorneys and they tried to get more and do evaluations. Like, nope, this is the deal, and it was bulletproof. It stood up all the way through. But a danger there is early on. That's why I had to let a few go. I gave them equity, hoping that if they thought like an owner, because now they've got some equity, it would change how they perform. My biggest lesson was those that perform that way would do it regardless. I just rewarded them for doing it. But when I gave it before earned, thinking that would change behavior, huge mistake.
Yeah, that typically doesn't happen. I've seen that before.
It can, yeah.
Thank you.
One more, if you don't mind. You mentioned a little bit earlier about dinner table, and I was just curious to hear a little bit more about that, because it seems like a lot of the value created in the company is you're able to bring that into a lot of households and create a lot of impact there.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a local-based company that started called Gravy Stack, and it was a kids banking app, and the model never made sense to me, but they burned through close to $15 million And the board called me in May of last year and said, what do we do? This isn't working. And I said, well, I hated that I was wrong, but I told you this over a year ago. You need to make a change. So they raised a little bit more money. I reconfigured the entire team. And that was, I think I took over as May 29th last year. So in 1 year flat, we have about 40,000 parents in our dinner table family community. And last I looked, they come from 67 different countries. And my whole purpose in the world right now is to drive holistic value creation behaviors into the world through for-profit business, nonprofit, and now families. And what we're doing is taking families on a value creation journey. So how do you intentionally create holistic value as a family? Material, emotional energy, what does it feel like to be in the family, connectedness, spiritual value creation, which can mean something different to every family. They come up with their own balance. And then think about legacy. So rather than, I call inheritance, divide and hope for the best. When I think about legacy, it's like, how do we build intentional holistic value in the family and then pass it on generationally in a way that they can build on it, going forward. So we're helping families on these value creation, journeys, and it's only been a year. So we have a pretty big virtual community. I've got 2 in-person communities I run in lower income communities in Phoenix. And my goal here, and I'm reorganizing the entire team and all the systems right now to take it to millions of families. And I'm super excited about it. And this is my mission. And selfishly, and I think I mentioned it earlier, the kids today are going to be running the world that we age out in. I want it to be amazing. And selfishly, I want it to be a better world out there. And the mission alignment is so strong. And had they not done it, I was going to do it in a nonprofit anyway. Don't need their money, didn't need any of it. And I'm not charging them $1 to do this, not $1. And I've got a number of team members running at it too. So it's about creating holistic value in the world. Our government isn't educating the kids very well when it comes to discovering their value creation superpower. So how do we build a community of parents, families raising kids to create value in the world? Whole different thing. It's a journey.
That's good.
Yeah.
One last question. Anybody else? In the back there,
Yeah,
Alex.
Pleasure hearing you. One of the things I think I heard was you talking about the culture building within the company. And if I understood correctly, it almost sounded like it was an inclusive culture building exercise or experience at the onset. And I was hoping maybe you could elaborate that. Was that something like you came into a business and on a regular basis, are you getting the employees and the staff or the leadership team together to talk about what is the definition of our culture? How are we defining what the value creation looks like? Is it something you're checking in? Like, how does it start? And then how do you evolve it and check in on it on an ongoing basis?
The question real quick was, how do you continue to check in on the cultural alignment and to incentivize cultural performance within a company?
Cultural alignment tools have to be operationalized. It can't just be wallpaper. And I remember with one of my companies got to about 70 employees, this is back in the 90s, and we had a set of alignment tools. I was part of a CEO mastermind group back then. I had a speaker come in, and so I picked these amazing sounding values. Integrity, and so we had our list. Top was integrity. I remember asking 10 employees, how are you applying integrity to make us measurably better? And I got 10 crazy answers that said, wow, we've really wasted our time. And that's where I backed up and said, hey, as I mentioned earlier, we need to have a purpose for every alignment tool or category of alignment tools, like a set of behaviors. Values, I moved away from those because they can be just too subjective in how they're being applied. And so we have to operationalize all of it, and they become amazing, cultural alignment tools become amazing leadership and team member development tools. Like, let's say, for example, high-performing team members at our company do what they say they will. They have a personal commitment to the end result. They're respectful, honest, and straightforward. They treat company resources as their own. It's like whatever you pick. And when somebody does it, you get to celebrate that. When they don't do it, it's a development opportunity conversation. So you have to operationalize it appropriately for your business. Does that answer?
Yeah, and is the staff is included in that process of defining that, if that's what I understood?
Yeah, it works best. So when it comes to defining cultural alignment tools, I think mission and vision should be developed by the leadership team, not one individual, but the leadership team. But when you get into things that go across the board, like leadership traits and behaviors, you want everybody to live, everybody should be involved in it. And even when we had 70 employees and we developed our final set of alignment tools, we could keep telling that story. So even all the way to 500 employees, this is how we developed, this is why, and that ownership kept transferring as the group got bigger. But because we operationalized the application of it, for example, every 6 months, every team member, I did this, I'm not recommending anybody else does, every 6 months, every team member for every alignment tool has to have one example of how they applied it to make the organization measurably better. And if they were up for it, take a shot at calculating the ROI. Did it improve customer experience, internal or external, and how was it measured? Did it improve cash flow? Did it improve profitability? When they took their shots at how they applied it and they got it wildly wrong, that was fantastic because now you know what they're thinking and you can actually educate them around it. So you have to operationalize it.
One more, right here.
Maybe I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
So, can you speak to the psychological perspective of, you seem to have a really healthy perspective of creating value for the world and then releasing it, where so many entrepreneurs and business owners almost turn what they're creating into their own identity, and then they have a hard time releasing it.
Yeah, that's that's a big question. So it's perspective on creating value in the world.
And then releasing it and empowering others to carry it beyond you.
And empowering others to carry it beyond. So I've had this philosophy for a long time, and it's made me a lot more money, I think, than I otherwise would have made if that's important to you. And every interaction has to be win-win. And so I go out of my way to make sure that's happening, and then I get exposed to more opportunities than most do because of that. So this strategy that I could take one thing and say, well, I could have, even selling my aerospace companies, I probably could have made another 30, 40, 50 million bucks into my pocket as opposed to giving it out to others. But I didn't. They helped me get there. And all of this win-win way of doing it exposes to so much more. And so when I push holistic value creation behaviors out into the world through all the channels that I do it, it's my purpose, my mission in life. It increases fulfillment. My internal most important number is fulfillment, and it exposes me to more and more opportunities. And I'm just hoping I can get to millions of families someday, and it moves the needle and makes it a better world for all of us. And one of the things I commented earlier, I forget where that conversation was going, that if a company makes $1 billion and everybody celebrates them, look at all the profit they made, but the effect of their product or service took $2 billion or more out of the world, even if they came to me and said, hey, give us $1 million to invest and we guarantee in 30 days you get 10 million bucks, no way in hell would I do it. Like, I'm serious about it. And I think when one of my internal values is virtue. And for me, practicing virtue means creating objectively measurable value in the world and pushing back on things, taking value out of the world, at least in proportion. So that's what I'm doing. But too many people will say the right thing because it sounds good, it's virtue signaling. And when it comes to money, they have situational morality and go the other direction. It's crazy what's going on. So more people, I think, I think it'd be helpful if they did that. And a big part of what I'm putting out into the world is getting more to think that way. Holistic value creation, win-win in every situation that we have. Oh, and by the way, it exposes you to more opportunities than the more win-lose folks have been in their negotiating. And if money's important, you can create a lot of material value doing that. And by the way, you just feel better when you're in balance. Yeah, right.
Last one.
Is that okay? Sorry. I've heard a lot of stories of entrepreneurs, business owners exiting a company that they've been at for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and their identity is like, what now? And did you just have other things going on, or did you struggle with that as like, I've given this 25 years?
I'll repeat it, yeah.
And who am I? Where am I going? Or did you have those other things still working in the background?
Yeah. So the question of some entrepreneurs, they have a company, they make it their identity, they sell it, and what happens to their identity? The thing I love about the value creation lens, I'm here to create value. So when people ask me, after you sold your aerospace company, do you miss your baby? And it's like, well, my baby was the culture, and now I'm impacting 100-fold the number of employees or more. And this is so cool. It was just an extension. So I'm creating value this way. And for me, it's got to be in balance, material, emotional, spiritual. And if something happens where I can't do this anymore, this is and there's so many other avenues to do it, I would never make that my identity. That said, I have a rock and roll band. I played in a music festival last weekend in Rocky Point, Circus Mexicus. I play guitar since I was 5 years old. I play 3 hours a day. That's a great hobby. Loved exercise, taught martial arts for a lot of years, had a full-time school. Lots of kids from white belt to 4th degree black belt, going through my system, and used to race motorcycles. I mean, I guess I've lived long enough to do a lot. There's a lot of things that I do, but all the way through it, even when I couldn't articulate it, it was about creating value in the world and things being win-win. And I think it's because of how I was raised in Lacey and I were talking about this, in a low-income family members in and out of prison, some for some really bad things, showed me way more about how not to show up in the world. Kicked out of the house at the beginning of my senior year. Best thing that ever happened to me. And so this, make creating value in the world your identity, not this one thing and the attention you're getting from it. Make it, in fact, I would say the more value you focus on creating, it puts up a shield to external noise. We're not extrinsically motivated anymore. It's all internal. And if we're good, then that won't matter. Does that help?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Man, thank you so much for sharing your value to us. Did you guys take some nuggets out of this? Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll move on here to the next part of today, but
Okay.
thank you so much, Lee. Give him a round of applause. Yeah. So we just want to we're going to turn the page to you guys tonight just for a little while, and we'll take about 10 minutes as we cycle through to our next speaker here, Rick. He's going to talk about some practical strategies and tools that he uses for his business acquisitions. But before we do that, I'm going to have each of you guys answer 2 questions here, and I want you guys to say it out loud. Is what do you want, and then what can you give? Because again, we're wanting to create value for each one in the room. So I'll start right over here. What do you have, or what do you want, and then also what can you give to the group as far as knowledge, maybe resources?
So my name is Connor Hatch. I'm looking I'd love to purchase a business here in the next year or so. And so that's what I'm looking for right now specifically. But more specifically, mentorship in that space. I just turned 23, just got married. And so there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. And so I love the way that you mentioned value add and bringing the best into the world. And so I've strived to live that way, and I'm grateful that in so doing I've been able to come up with a cool network, predominantly on the East Valley, but I've run circles in the private equity space on that side of town, and been able to help connect people and facilitate some really cool deals over there. So I would say that's where I'm able to offer to bring.
Okay, access to capital potentially, and then you're looking to purchase. What about you? Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, so hey,
Yeah.
Bill Goodwin, I'm 23 as well. Can't tell. What do you want? So I've scaled multiple companies over the last 20 years, most recently scaling a company and selling it to Walmart. And now I actually focus on helping other companies scale, not repeat a lot of the mistakes that I made, and really figure out a way to scale more effectively. And what can I give? I mean, I'm really here. I love meeting people, and if there's any way I can add value, whether that's through other connections or whether that's just through some ideas on how to scale your business, happy to help in any way I can. So, nice to meet y'all.
Alex, what's up?
Nice, yeah, great group here. So, what do I want? I mean, I think if we're here, we're all looking for, business acquisition opportunities, clearly. But what I'm looking for is at this point in time is a lot of knowledge, the knowledge and resources and network. I think the business will come if I can continue to educate myself, and so learning from experienced entrepreneurs, learning from experienced acquisition-minded professionals is really where my head's at, and learning how to kind of go through that process and understand the details. So that's what I'm looking for, that knowledge and that experience. What I can give is I'm an open book. I can give honesty, I can give truth, I can give the experience that I have, and I'm a question asker, so I can definitely ask a lot of questions and lend an ear to good conversations to help anybody who's looking to grow and be in that space as well. So that's why.
Thank you.
Cool. Derek Allred, what do I want? To be inspired, meet people, and I have been inspired, and I've met some good people already. Look forward to meeting more. Plan to buy and build businesses. I'm in construction, I build buildings, so anything in that space, I'm happy to give however I can, and like these guys connect with whoever I'm in contact with and friends with, and really I think the biggest thing I can give is just to be a friend, and I'm excited to meet people.
So what kind of houses you build?
I'm a superintendent on a hotel right now.
Oh, hotels.
Yeah,
Okay, so if I need to build a hotel, that's what you can help me with, yeah.
Anything you'd like to build.
Perfect, let's do it. I like that.
I'm Scott Despain, and I'm with, you say your name, Alex?
Yeah.
I'm with Alex. I want knowledge and network. I am specifically pretty interested in real estate. And then, so as far as what I can give is I can give friendship.
I like that. That's good. And that leads into a lot of things, actually, because you got to get to know somebody before. That's how it began with us. We sat down with you at your house, and you guys should see his house. It's ridiculous, actually. He does have guitars, and he's actually a rock star. Like, he's got a recording studio. He's got a dojo. He's got. It was just cool, and we sat down and had a good day. You know what I mean? So thank you for your friendship, and I'm sure you could do the same. Hunter, this guy's an OG. He came to the very, very, very first AquaCon. As a small little group, a little bigger than this, but
yeah,
thanks for being a part.
I love what you guys are building, by the way. So my name is Hunter Goodall. I went to several of their events up in Utah, and what do I want? I just moved my family here a summer ago, and I wanted to meet people who are interested in acquisition. What can I give? I help people buy businesses. So I've helped people, entrepreneurs, buy $50 million worth of small businesses. So I'd love to talk with you guys, and if you guys have questions about how to buy a small business, I'd love to help out. So.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. We'll go right over here, far left. See you at the top. Your name again?
My name is Tanner.
Okay,
Brzee.
Tanner.
I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've built and failed a lot of companies, had a couple of decent exits, and tried to reinvest into a lot of passive income type things after that exit, and just found not a lot of joy in it. It's too boring, and so looking for that struggle, a lot more value there. And so what I'm looking for, and Hunter invited me to come out to this, is I'm looking to do another waste management company, and looking for strategic partners or people that are interested in that space, and to kind of take a journey together. What I can give, I'm an open book, happy to share resources or war stories, or
Both valuable.
both can be
Right.
valuable. Yeah. And I love really obscure, unsexy businesses. Those are things that are exciting me.
I got a good connection to Elevate Waste in Salt Lake City. There could be a growth equity position that you could take it as well as an advisor of some sort.
Yeah.
Just an idea. Rick.
Hey guys, my name is Rick Saul. I came out here just to really, what I want, I just love to connect. I love connecting to people in this space. Everybody, I've been in it for maybe just starting maybe 3-4 years, and everyone I've met has it's been amazing. a lot of the close friends I hang out with now are in this space. So yeah, just networking, and then what I can give is I'd like to help people connect the dots on whatever it is that they may have. I've been through the trenches with family business, just the whole thing. So I have plenty of war stories too. I could probably share with Tanner. But no, I just like to give as much as I can. The little I've learned over the last 3-4 years, if I can help anybody kind of avoid pitfalls or lead people in the right direction, I'd love to help out.
Good. Thanks for being here. You, and then we'll go. Oh, sorry, right here in the middle. What's your name again?
Oh, me.
Yeah.
I'm Christy Ramage.
Christy. Yeah.
In addition to my husband and I hopefully closing on our own first deal by the end of the month, fingers crossed.
Come on now.
It's not done until it's signed, but
Okay,
you
yeah.
know how that goes. I've also been through several mergers and acquisitions in my corporate life on the buy side in HR. So I have actually started consulting for folks going through their own mergers and acquisitions with an HR lens, a people-focused lens. So what I'm here for tonight is to meet other folks in the M&A space. And what I can give is a unique perspective of, again, the people and culture side of a merger, of an acquisition, and hopefully some advice to help keep your key players and keep or improve your culture.
How about Department of Labor secrets?
I might know one or two of those.
Nice. I like that. Right over here to the back. We'll go right there. Yeah. Oh, sorry. You first, and then
My
like.
name's Brian Main.
Yeah.
What do I want? Always looking to make new connections. I'm also, so I do commercial lending, SBA loans, so always looking to make connections. And then, yeah, I mean, just learn the operational side of the business. I see a lot of the numbers and stuff on paper, so it's nice to see, just learn about the operational side. And then what can I give? Obviously, the financing side, that's what I do for my job. But, eventually want to buy a business, run a business myself one day. I grew up my mom owns an accounting practice, so I just grew up around small business and want to do it myself one day. So, yeah, just learning as much as I can, helping people where I can.
When is that day?
When is that day?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll
2
see
years?
what that day is. Yeah.
2 years?
Yeah, I can see that.
Let's do it.
See that happen.
Yeah. It's 365 plus 365.
Yeah.
Well, now you get told the whole group here, so we'll keep you accountable. What's up, bro?
My name's Kellen Miller. I'm a M&A advisor, so we're an investment bank located down in Gilbert. I'll go in reverse. What can I give? Offer complimentary business evaluations and can assist with business owners in selling their business and industry. We're industry agnostic as a firm, so happy to help there. What do I want? Really just networking and getting to know each one of you is great. Really wanting to especially work with with wealth advisors in the sense that working with them to see, hey, how much does it take for this owner to say, hey, it makes sense to exit this business right now. Working hand in hand with them to see it's going to take $4 million in order for him to walk away. Is today the day to walk away, or does it take a year for you to grow your business and get to that number? So
Okay. Quarterback the deal.
It's also Kellen, and then
Yeah.
Ryan.
Lee, what do you need? What do you want?
So what I want is what I kind of did. I want to drive holistic value creation behaviors and thinking into the world. I hope I planted a little bit of a seed today.
Yes.
And what I can give, if you go to etw.com, my website, there's lots of free leadership development stuff there. We launched the Leadership Value Lab, which goes through all the stuff that I teach and have gone through. Also have CEO mastermind groups where I was part of Vistage and so many other groups for probably 40 years with overlap, and I came up with a way better process in my view. I know Bill, we've talked about it, so there's information there around that too, but I want to help leaders create holistic value, increase the value of their businesses, and feel better doing it.
Lace, there's one more. Might as well. Put you on the spot. Put you on the spot.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't ready for that. So.
Speaking coach. That's what you need. Joke.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of aligned with you right now on our goals. So, our big focus right now is to build the nation's largest playground for people that are buying and selling companies. So, we're bringing together all the buyers, all the sellers, and all the service providers that help make that happen, and helping collapse time through relationship and experience. And we need your guys' help. No.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And then what I can give is some really good encouragement.
She's currently studying for her doctorate in behavioral psychology as well, and
So
she's being able.
psychoanalyze you.
She has trained thousands of people on our online platform for health and fitness, but also now she's getting into more of the psychology side of things. So she's able to understand the performance of one, and then from an intrinsic to extrinsic value. But she's more than just the behind the scenes. So anyway, so the next portion of today, I wanted to create a little bit more actual value, not to say that we haven't already, but with the people that are in the room that are wanting to buy companies. So I wanted to have Rick, we're going to just do kind of a back and forth. I know we'll take a small break if you guys need to go to the restroom, if you want to get more food. I know we've been sitting here for a little while, so if you'd like to do so, you can do that now. We'll come back in less than 5 minutes. We'll start with Rick here. We'll get him mic'd up, but enjoy the food that we have. We don't want to take that all home. And then he's going to give us some tangible education as to how he goes through his business acquisition process. Sound good? Roger that.
Do it. We don't want to record that.
Perfect.
I need all the luck I can get following Lee. Jeez. I've never felt 3 foot tall before, but I feel like 2.5 feet tall.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for, again, coming to the Acquisition IQ National Tour, and it means a lot to have people in a room. Have you ever been in a room where there was nobody there and you tried to host the event? It's not a good time. Oh, you have? I know, we have. But I hope you guys are getting some value from, obviously, the guest speakers and also each other. It's not just about the speakers. I mean, you could be up here speaking. Mr. What's your last name? Bowman? What's your last name? Yeah, Mr. Goodwin could be up here speaking as well. But anyway, I'm going to read off Rick Saul's bio. He's going to be our next guest speaker. So Rick Saul is an experienced Main Street and mid-market business broker and currently in a mergers and acquisitions advisor. He's also a certified business intermediary. Prior to becoming a business broker, he worked 20 years in the real estate industry, specializing in residential commercial income property assets. Mr. Saul has consulted with entertainment icons, professional sports players, Fortune 500, and mid-market companies in Arizona, California, Texas, and Hawaii. I'm looking forward to hearing from Rick. Come on to the stage here, and we'll go through some of the things that you've got for us.
Hello, guys.
Lot to live up to there, huh?
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
Again. But no, we're just, today, we had a conversation prior to us just coming here, and it was really about some of the tools that us as business owners and you guys as maybe first-time buyers or maybe second-time buyers are looking for their acquisition in. What are some of the tools that you're currently using that you know that others would need as well?
Oh, getting right into it.
Might as well.
All right.
No, we can go.
First, I would have to. I just mentioned to Lee. It's very hard to follow Lee's experience and speech and just all that. So I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah. So some of the tools I'd say. Obviously, there's the Biz Buy Sell, all those different broker sites. But while you're looking through those, you could look through those for months, and if you're not really going through and analyzing each property, or excuse me, each business, you're not really making any progress. It probably takes looking at 100 different businesses and submitting 10 LOIs to get in contract on a deal that's really going to hit the mark. So one of the tools I use is dealanalyzer.io, I think it is. And that's really just a plugin for Biz Buy Sell and all the other broker sites or the syndicated sites. And you can cut and paste the financials from all those sites. It creates a spreadsheet of all the deals you're analyzing, and then the money math of like, okay, what's the multiple? What's the DCRS at for the debt service coverage? What's your cash flow? The number of years it's been in business, how many employees it has, all those kind of key markers that really is going to tell you whether or not it's a green light or whether you should just cut ties and move on. So that one, you can look through all the businesses and talk to all the people you want about businesses and until you really get like their 3 years financials and aren't able to put it into a spreadsheet and weight those years. Give each of those years the proper weighted value. That's where the rubber really meets the road as far as evaluating companies. There's other resources out there, but I think having some kind of worksheet, there's all kinds of resources, but that's the one I personally like because it keeps track of all the deals you're on, and then there's another sheet that populates the money math per individual deal, and it just makes it super easy for me. I cut and paste it in all the different broker sites, and then I can evaluate those, and if there's more information, I can request that from the broker.
Let's talk about buying a business and why someone would buy a business, because many times I've had conversations with, I'm thinking about a good friend of mine. He purchased a business and he purchased a job. I think it's more important for us to understand why we're purchasing a business and then, kind of reverse engineer that. Have you had that as a business broker as well? And then also you being the acquirer?
Yeah, I would.
What would your advice be to that person?
It's a whole lot easier. There's some brilliant people like Lee and some other people that have built a business from the ground up, and that is extremely difficult to do. And right now with, you've heard this, I'm sure, elsewhere, but with all the baby boomers that have 20, 30, 40-year-old companies, you can step into their system, sometimes culture, and they're just looking to pass the torch to someone that's a good fit for their customers, their employees, and that's a huge head start than trying to create a company from scratch. That takes years and years where, you can, like Lacey said, you can collapse time, purchase the right company, and you're off to the races.
Walk us through that term sheet negotiation and the ability to be able to purchase.
But one other thing.
Sure thing.
Kind of coming from real estate, I was, just real quick, I was looking to stack duplexes, small multifamily, and I was looking at duplexes for $240,000. And this particular business I bought was $240,000, seller financed, and a duplex is going to I might make $400 or $500 a month if I'm lucky, not considering the repairs. And a $240,000 business. Last year we made $650 net with 2.6 gross. So just the $240,000 duplex to $240,000 business is it's night and day difference as far as what the potential is.
So I can just pitch a tent and then own a business? Is that what you're saying?
That can be difficult. No.
No, that's interesting. Yeah. So where you place your capital, and then so walk us through again that negotiation, and then how when you're at that table, trying to secure a for sale by owner or being able to have a buyout or negotiate. How do you do that?
I'd say the negotiations are a little bit more. The negotiations are not as much as there is, I would say, in real estate. A lot of it is identifying them. The numbers are the numbers. What you can negotiate with is maybe the terms, the structure of the deal.
Yep.
That's where the real magic happens. A lot of them, most all businesses that do sell, except like higher end private equity, in the markets that we're most likely purchasing, 1 million to 5 million. Anything above that, you start to get a little bit more private equity, hedge funds type stuff, maybe up to 10, but you're still gonna have some people that can pay a higher multiple than you. But between 1 and 5 is kind of that sweet spot, and that's a lot of retiring blue collar folks that are just looking to retire and kind of pass the torch, so to speak. But negotiation, I would say it's a lot of getting to know them, letting them get to know you, establishing rapport, letting them know that you're the best fit to move this ship forward. More so than negotiating is just establishing that you're the best fit. And then once that's set, oftentimes, if they've been in the business 30, 40 years, money's not they don't want them, getting the most out of their exit is not their focus. They want to give it to the right person. And if they find the right person, they're more than likely they're a little bit more flexible on the terms, the price. I mean, I think Alex and Christy, we're part of we've spoke on some other deals before, and the right sellers will pass up on hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars to just pass it to the right person. So more so than negotiating, I think, is just creating that rapport with the seller. But there's a little bit of a gateway to get through that with the brokers and kind of the inquiring into a deal to.
Can you, sorry for the interruption, but can you walk us through how you are going to structure the magic? Because you just said there was magic to be had, but that's the term sheet. How do you structure different terms, or is it different per, for every different, every scenario?
I would say every deal is very unique. You have to really, I would say that we really would like to find out what's motivating the seller and structure a deal that fits what they're looking to do. And sometimes they want to stay on They want to have enough money to retire financially, maybe a little bit less stress, but they still want to be involved. Some people want to get up and go to the Philippines for the rest of their lives. So it's completely different, kind of based on the particular business seller, I would say.
How do you put together the financial stack for an acquisition? And is it just directly to the bank, or do you put together a financial or a family office, or private equity? Who do you go for the capital?
Me personally, right now, I prefer debt finance. This is just me personally, but I rather not give up equity to money. I rather save that value to give back to the employees. So rather than overstretching and have the cash flow any bit tight because we have outside equity money. Me personally, I lean more towards debt, but that's kind of expanding as opportunities and more acquisitions come on my plate. But me personally, I would prefer that, but a lot of folks, if you're looking to do a larger roll-up, it's hard to do that quickly without outside money. So if that's your goal and that's how you feel like you can create the most value, that's different, but it just depends where you're trying to get to.
Have you lost deals because you've been slow, or the speed to acquisition?
I've definitely lost deals because there's cash out there, with some good deals, or sometimes it's there was a paving company, asphalt paving company, and they wanted to sell someone that's already in the industry. They already know the ins and outs. They have that particular license. So sometimes it's cash. Sometimes it's they think someone else is a better fit, which that's okay.
I see you brought some books here, and I know you have more resources that you typically utilize throughout your due diligence process for the acquisition of a business. Can you share with us some more of those resources?
Yeah, so let's see, when you're talking to the brokers, the best way to find deal flow, in my opinion, at this kind of beginning level, is networking with different brokers, making sure they know who you are. I actually have a joint marketing agreement with a broker, so we create deal flow together, and sometimes him having that initial conversation, the seller has their defenses up a little bit less than an actual buyer. So that's worked out good for me. I'm purchasing like a small percentage of the properties that we're or the businesses that we're looking at. So that's he can list it otherwise. But I would say putting together like a personal resume, being able to present yourself well to the broker, but then also the seller. So that could be if you're looking through Biz Buy Sell, but you don't have, things as simple as an email template that presents yourself well, a personal resume. If you have financing, what does that look like? And then why are you the best person for this business? And then try to get in front of that seller as soon as possible.
That's wise. Yeah, that's wise advice, and I'm sure you've probably seen it multiple times, right?
Yeah, I would say the sooner you can get in front of a seller and have that connectivity with them, you'll know whether you want to move forward with it, and the seller's going to know whether it's a good fit or not. And a lot of people, you can breeze through all the listings you want, but I think that's really where it happens, where you know whether it's a good fit or not, is just talking to a lot of sellers, kissing a lot of frogs.
Yeah. How have you integrated AI into your search practice?
I have not used too much AI other than some of the. No, I'd say I have not used AI too much, me personally.
Not a problem.
Wish I had a better answer for you, but.
Not a problem. There's obviously there's advanced technology out there. We partnered with a group called Socratics AI. That was not a leading thing to promote another company, but there's other technologies that are out there too that are enabling you to be able to leverage financial data based on AI that is reading the data, so then it enables you as the buyer to say yes or no, whether it's a red or a green light, based on specific data points that it's being fed. So, we're excited to see where that technology goes, and obviously other companies that are running that race.
The financial worksheets that you can find, that dealanalyzer.ai is one of them. But once you know it's a deal and you want to move forward with it, the more you can find out in the beginning, because due diligence is expensive, quality of earnings is expensive, lawyers are expensive. So on a deal, you're probably going to spend between 15 to 50 grand in due diligence. So as comfortable as you can get with the numbers and that conversation with the seller as far as what all are you buying, what key employees are staying, all that due diligence, that asking the right questions, all of that stuff that you can do up front as much as possible with either yourself or I'm available. There's other people in this room that are perhaps available. It'll also save you in the long run, because once you get into a deal and contracts, lawyers, Q of E, it's expensive.
Well, we all know that parable. It's like sharpen the axe and then just swing once and just you're done.
Exactly.
But it takes a long time to sharpen that axe,
Yes.
Let's end out here with some of these books you've got. Tell
Yeah,
us more about these things.
Again, I am 10 steps and decades behind Lee. I don't have my own book, unfortunately. One day I might be working on it, but these are some of the books that I've read that I would recommend. And I don't know if it's 3 questions, if there's people with questions, but
We'll do questions.
I don't know if we have raffle tickets or whatnot, but I'd love to give these out to anybody that's interested or has questions, or however you best see fit.
Well, let's read the first one here. This is Walker Diebler. This is Build Then Buy. Has anyone seen this? Anybody online? Yep, it's a great book here. So we'll open the floor now, if you don't mind, for Q&A. Anybody have any questions for him? Lee.
2 questions. So what do you see as and by the way, I love the space of the smaller, family-owned business. There's so much value there. What are the biggest 1 or 2 misses in due diligence that you see? And then once they buy it, what's a common mistake they make to not get the most value out of what they bought, in your experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say
Common mistakes in due diligence was the question, and after they just repeat the question. If you don't mind.
Okay. I would say the things that are missed in due diligence that's real common is really, basic stuff, like really understanding the numbers and the Q of E, and then also where are the key employees going to be after the acquisition. Like a lot of times the owner, or is the owner going to stay on, or are they telling you they're going to stay on and then they're gone, or do you see yourself working with the owner afterwards? Because sometimes they still want to run the ship, but we got a new captain. There's a mutiny, or the key employee, maybe he had an equity position, and after 500 grand, $1 million, but stay on long enough to close the deal, and then you might be missing some key employees to keep the ship moving, the way it was. Let's see.
Yeah, and then after, we bought it, what's a common mistake that's made that they miss some value?
I would continue with the key. Let's see. After you purchase, I would say really, I focus on taking care of not changing anything. A lot of people want to buy a business and be like, okay, I got this game plan, and I'm going to apply this game plan to this business and these people and this culture and these clients. And I would say a lot of people, a plan's good to have, but too many people want to make changes too fast. I think you want everything to stay somewhat, stay the same, not ruffle any feathers really quickly right off the bat, You know, you usually have at acquisition, you usually have a bit of a J curve, meaning you might go down a little bit before you start to go up. So you want to minimize that by taking care, not making any big changes, and then really get to knowing your key employees and making sure everyone's on the same page now that the acquisition has happened, and working together with them, bringing them on board so they're part of the process. But I would say keeping the team together and not making huge changes right off the bat. I think those are some common things that from that smaller, that 1 to 5 million. Those are some things that are usually key.
Rick, in terms of given this generational change and a lot of people wanting to sell their business, are you seeing like a lot of opportunities where maybe there's a better group to choose from in certain spaces, whether it might be manufacturing or as Tanner put out, like your unsexy businesses that are profitable? What are you seeing out there in the market that might be attractive to people?
Yeah. I'm particular to Arizona. Anything that's happening in Arizona, you got like you're off on a good foot because there's all the major employers are coming here for good reason. So I'm going to follow their due diligence that this is a really good place to be. So I think geographically Arizona for everyone here, if everyone's from here, that's a really good place to start. Everything blue collar, health and wellness. But there's a whole lot of niches. Like if you're an optometrist, an air conditioning company might not be a great fit, although a great opportunity, it might not be a good fit for you. So my friend Tom was an optometrist, and he purchased an optometrist office. So there's so many options out there. You really have to take inventory of what you're going to bring to the table. He might have the back end business experience to apply that to any business, but each of you guys have your own set qualities, things that you're good at, things that you're not good at. So one business might be a good fit for one person, but not necessarily somebody else. And there's so many small niche off the beaten path businesses that you've never heard of before. Like it's bizarre. There's everyone's looking for the blue collar. Everyone is looking for health and wellness, but there's so many niche things that are also available too. And those are the things that often go underlooked.
You mentioned you started in real estate and then it's transitioned into business acquisitions. Aside from your duplex example where you could buy 240 versus 240, what were some other factors that caused you to switch from real estate into business acquisition? And also, how did that factor in which industries you chose to buy your companies in?
That's a good question. So I wish I had 23 years experience in business acquisitions and then went to real estate for the tax necessity. I would just be so far ahead. But you can make money in real estate, but it's oftentimes unless you're establishing a really solid, culture and ongoing, team, it can be very transactional. So I think purchasing businesses gives you a little bit more leverage to create something, like Lee said, of value, and then there's much more potential in what you can actually make, which is like income. It's hard to cash flow. This is a good example. Multifamily and businesses, two totally different value indicators. You have a cap rate and you have a multiple, right? So a 5% cap rate would take 20 years for the company to pay itself back, right? 5% cap is going to take 20 years, 5 times 20 to get your money back, excluding the appreciation and some of the tax benefits. Well, a business that is a 3 multiple is going to pay, you're going to get that's three years earnings. So you're going to get your money back. If everything stays the same and you don't create more value, you're going to earn your money back in 3 years. So just just the sheer value and how you have more control over, you don't have any control over how much multifamily goes up or down. That's just kind of what it is, where you have a lot more levers you can pull, things you can manipulate, people you can hire, other acquisitions that you can stack. So that was, looking at that, I think that's why I chose to just totally transition into business acquisitions. And I forgot your second question.
Yeah, how did that factor? Obviously, you were an optometrist, right? So you had to go out and buy an optometry.
Yeah.
But, so how did that factor into the industries that you chose to buy in?
I really like the blue collar. So the landscaping company we have, they service, it's like the multifamily. So we're actually serving the alternative to purchasing the multifamily apartments. But so Graystar, Mark Taylor, Highmark, all of those. So I had some relationships with real estate from previous, and just really saw the potential in it for me personally. I really like blue collar. Exterior construction is what we're looking at purchasing or closing on a commercial pool company at the end of July. Randomly, Ryan from First Bank of the Lake is one of the guys at the bank that I've been working with on that. So that just randomly happened tonight, which is kind of cool.
Did it?
Or did it? Yeah. Or did you set that up? But me personally, I was just construction and blue collar is very closely tied to real estate. So I felt a little bit comfortable entering that space.
Any last questions? We'll give
Should
books
we-
out to those
those guys?
to those
Okay.
that had asked questions. Any lasting questions here for Rick? Mr. Rick Saul?
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Oh,
Now that you've done a couple of deals,
Yeah.
if you were to go back and do it again, what's one thing you wish you would have done different?
one thing I would have done different.
Wish you had known.
Wish I would have known. In the beginning, I would have spent a little bit more time with the due diligence and understanding absolutely everything of the quality of earnings, the real true due diligence that's kind of behind the scenes that you can't get from the seller, and also more support from the attorney side. Really building, working with a team from the beginning of attorneys, due diligence, quality of earnings, and those types of people to really build a team to do it with, rather than trying to do it all by yourself. I would say that would be a huge help.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here and sharing with the crowd here your wisdom.
I appreciate it.
Give him a round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
Well, we know you guys are just itching to continue conversations. Just enjoy your evening and get a little bit more refreshments if you'd like. Before we leave, we just wanted to let you know, again, we've got our big conference coming up. It's on September 3rd. This is such a small little environment. Our conference is about 300, 400 people, and they're from all over the United States, and overseas. So we're excited to be able to host again in Salt Lake City on the 3rd. It'll be a full day, so we'll have the VIP dinner and deal pitch towards the end of the day, and then we'll also have our different guest speakers as well as different panel discussions. And we're just touching on such a small little thing here with fireside chats, and some of the panel discussions that we've had before are about identifying your target from a buy side. So then we'll place the team members, and you were there at the last Equicon. We had buy sides panel, we had an AI integration and technology panel that was all around the advancements of technology within the acquisition space. Then we have funders in the room, and we curate each one of our circle tables of each or 8 people at each of the tables, and we curate them to where you guys are meeting the right people for you. And we can do that with roughly 350 to 400 people. Now, once it gets to 1,000-person conference, we'll have to use some AI to increase our algorithms. But that is the national conference. It is coming soon, and that's why we're doing this national tour, just to meet people like you, create massive momentum for our next launch in September on the 3rd. Again, to our partners, and then we do have the Acquisition IQ Network. The Acquisition IQ Network was born because I wanted to provide all of the resources, values, tools, and be able to have individuals just like Lee joining us. And then we've got Hunter, he's one of our founding members. And we also have Rick here, which is a founding member of the Acquisition IQ National Network. So we did the National Network where we have monthly meetings that are 2 hours where we have breakout sessions, and then we also have guest speakers that typically will do a 20-minute, 10-minute Q&A. And then from that, again, we'll upload all of that into our educational repository to enable you guys to access it at any time. So that right now is $1,500, and you guys have lifetime access into our group. So no additional fees or yearly or annual fees, just $1,500, and that gets you a VIP ticket to the actual conference as well, September 3rd. And then you also have lifetime access to our online app, all of the people that we continue to aggregate throughout all of this national tour. So hundreds of people, and we're excited to be able to be here, and thank you for being here.